This is Douglasville City Manager Bill Osborne, and welcome to this edition of On the Agenda. This is a somewhat unique edition of On the Agenda because it will be the second part of a program that we started concerning Georgia Highlands College. And we're talking about the establishment in Douglasville, Douglas County, of a branch campus of the Georgia Highlands College, headquartered in Rome, and University of West Georgia, main campus being in Carrollton. Now, on part one of the program, I talked with Ken Bernard, a local attorney, who is a member of the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia. And of course, the Board of Regents determines the policies for operating the University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, and the other components of the University System of Georgia. And Mr. Bernard talked with me about his feelings about having a unit of the University System of Georgia located here in Douglasville. My other guest was Dr. Randy Pierce, president of the two-year Georgia Highlands College. And when I talked with Dr. Pierce, we kind of traced the involvement of the City of Douglasville and the City's Development Authority with the Board of Regents, Georgia Highlands College, the owner of some property here in Douglasville, where we wanted to try to establish a branch campus of Georgia Highlands and the University of West Georgia. But he and I did not get through with all that we wanted to talk about, so we're starting the first part of today's episode by a completion of that conversation with Dr. Pierce. As you may know, Georgia Highlands College already is operating here in Douglasville, Douglas County, in a branch campus on the Chapel Hill High School grounds. Hopefully they will be moving into their new quarters shortly after the first of the year, which will be on the former Cub Food site on Stewart Parkway. Now, if you would write down the following information if you wish to get in touch with someone from Georgia Highlands, if you have an interest in finding out about the courses that are offered, or possibly enrolling in this two-year school here in Douglasville. But let me just point out that the City of Douglasville and the City Development Authority stepped forward to work with the Board of Regents, the two universities, the colleges that we're talking about, and a private property owner to bring this educational facility here to Douglasville. And the owner of the shopping center on Stewart Parkway, where the former Cub Foods store used to be, is where Georgia Highlands had been looking at a location. The city and the CDA, we looked at some other sites to see if we could find something that would make more financial sense or be a better place to put this campus. And we concluded that Georgia Highlands, the Board of Regents, were correct in saying this location on Stewart Parkway was the best site. Now, we actually thought that we had another reason for choosing this site, and that is in this part of the city, of course, we have some vacant space, vacant commercial space, and by having the college campus located here, this would be a jump start for trying to do something with that space, especially there in the shopping center on Stewart Parkway. Now, as I explained on the previous program, it was very important for the City Development Authority to be involved in the project. Georgia law put certain restrictions on universities, local governments, the state government, as it relates to what we can do on a multi-year basis. And the state and local governments use authorities, which are established under the Georgia Constitution, that have the ability to deal with things such as a lease on a multi-year basis. And the private property owner, in this case, did not want to move forward with certain improvements to the building unless there was a 10-year lease in place. And that is where the City Development Authority, the CDA, came in, and they made this possible. Now, there were several agreements that had to be worked out involving the Board of Regents, the City of Douglasville, the City Development Authority, Georgia Highlands College, the private property owner. And so, you know, Dr. Pierce, in terms of putting these things together, that was rather complicated, wouldn't you say so?
Well, I mean, from our standpoint, as an institution, a college of the University System of Georgia, as you know, one of the big issues that we ran into is that we can only sign year-to-year leases. And we are not permitted by law to sign a long-term lease.
Right.
And as you also know, in most developments or businesses where space is the main business, that's leased on a multi-year basis.
Right.
And so that immediately threw a wrench kind of into the whole thing. And obviously the way we figured out to deal with that, the way we were able to deal with that is thanks to you and the city and the development authority came through as the leaseor, and then now we have become the sublease
Right.
leaseor and are actually leasing through the development authority and everything. It's not unique for us. We've done these before, and they've worked quite well, and they've been very successful. I think not only for the college, but also for the developers involved, and of course the individuals that stand the most to gain are the citizens of Douglasville and Douglas County in the long run, because we are bringing an institution to this area, and that will be open, we hope, keeping our fingers crossed, in January.
Right. And I think the citizens of Douglasville, Douglas County will see great benefit from this, and will be a tremendous new addition to educational institutions locally. Of course, we already have a campus of Mercer University here, as well as a campus of West Georgia Technical College. Comment, if you would, on how in other communities, Georgia Highlands, as you've served that community and you've had a technical college serving the community, as to how this takes place without significant competition, in a sense, between the institutions.
Duplication. Okay. Well, first let me talk a minute about the West Georgia connection. We really haven't talked about West Georgia.
Okay.
Again, going back to the study that was done by the university system, they felt like the best way to go into an area and avoid duplication within the system was to have one of the two-year colleges go in with a partnership, or in a partnership with one of the universities. And of course, West Georgia is very close to this area and to Douglasville and Douglas County, and so we were paired with West Georgia for this partnership, just as we were paired with Kennesaw State and Paulding County and Dallas. The university system and the two-year colleges of the university system have one primary mission, and that is the two-year colleges are a point of access to the university system, which in turn then leads to baccalaureate degrees. We offer Associate of Arts and Associate of Science degrees that then can be built upon with the junior and senior years at West Georgia, in this case, to allow one to acquire a baccalaureate degree. Most of our students are there with the intent of getting a four-year degree. The exception to that is our nursing program, which offers at the moment an associate degree in nursing, and our dental hygiene program, which also offers an associate degree in dental hygiene. All the other degree programs are related to baccalaureate degrees and not work related, whereas the technical college programs are primarily workforce type programs. One of the things we are going to be working on in the future, and we have done this in other communities, certainly in the Rome community. And when we were in Ackworth, we were actually on the campus of what was then North Metro Technical College, now one of the campuses of Chattahoochee Tech. But we'll be working, hopefully, with West Central to create articulation. We already have transfer articulation with West Central, courses that we take from them, and of course they would take from us, so that students can move seamlessly from one institution to another. In many cases, students will start off either at a technical college and then at some point decide to move toward the baccalaureate degree, or vice versa, will start off pursuing a baccalaureate degree and decide that what they really want is one of the programs that a West Central Technical College will offer. So we'll be working on articulations with West Central so that we aren't duplicating courses and programs here in Douglasville and Douglas County. One of the things that both you and I, as taxpayers of the state, certainly don't want is to have institutions duplicating those kinds of programs.
Right.
With our taxpayer money.
Right.
So
right.
we'll be working with them to certainly minimize the amount of duplication that we have in terms of programs.
Right. Well, I appreciate that explanation. I'm sure our viewers do also. I know when Mayor Thompson, members of the City Council, our City Development Authority, its Executive Director, Jamie Gilbert, and myself, as we looked at how all these agreements would need to be finalized, and we talked a minute ago about the City Development Authority and having this agreement with the property owners that would guarantee a 10-year lease to the property owners, but and this, of course, will be in the former Cub Foods site on Stewart Parkway. You know, one of the concerns that we had was not that the college would not be successful, that it might be so successful
Right.
that rather than being there for 10 years, as Regent Bernard had mentioned earlier, that the college might look at moving to its permanent campus more quickly. And with that in mind, the agreement that we said we wanted to have with the Board of Regents was the city would go ahead and give the Board of Regents an option on a 50-acre site, but that we didn't want that option to be able to be exercised for 7 years, which meant that 7 years from now, if the college is ready to move, by the time they would get the campus built, then you would be about through with that 10-year period. And basically, for our viewers that may be wondering now, where will this site be? What we have done is to agree upon a site on Bright Star Road, adjacent to the Bright Star Road United Methodist Church. This is land, part of land that the city acquired about 3 years ago as a possible park site. And the option, of course, between the city and the Board of Regents does provide that if any time during the 7 years, the Board of Regents and the city, Georgia Highlands, if we find another site that everybody says, hey, this would be a better site, then we could look at providing that acreage to the college, and then in turn the city, of course, would retain the Bright Star Road property. But I think all of us have said, let's look at ways to make this work, but we also, all of us have had to say, how do we protect our individual institutions? And I think that one of the things that we looked at, of course, with the lease is that the lease payments go up on an annual basis, but they peak out at year 7. And then the last 3 years are much less, so that if the college were to move, then from the standpoint of the city and the City Development Authority, that what we would be looking at on a sublease to somebody would be at a lower price. So
Right.
I think even though we expect all of this to go smoothly, we've tried to take into account those contingencies. And I hope our viewers, family members, friends, that you let people know about this, because we think this is a wonderful opportunity to be able to go to college and not even have to leave Douglas County to do that. Always give my guest an opportunity for a final word, so what would you like to say in closing?
You know, certainly we want to thank you, and we want to thank the mayor, and we want to thank the city council, and of course the development authority for hanging in there with us and working with us to get all of these complex technical issues worked out, so that and of course we knew all along that you obviously had the citizens of Douglasville's best interest at heart in trying to put this together. And of course it was your vision, the mayor's vision, and the council's vision that brought this to Douglasville, and we want to thank you for that opportunity. We're extremely excited. We think, again, given the experience I've had with other operations of this type, where we've gone into a rented storefront facility, that this is going to be a very successful venture, partnership with the city and the Development Authority, with the University of West Georgia, and hopefully even with West Central Technical College. And we'll look back, I think, 5 to 6 years from now and realize just what a great asset that the college and this particular teaching site has become.
Right. I believe that will happen, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. Rob Whitaker, your finance director, that we've had a lot of contact with, and I think as we move down this road together, we'll continue to find things of value with Georgia Highlands and Douglasville, Douglas County working together. It's been a great pleasure, Dr. Pierce, to have you here today, and look forward to having you back again.
Well, thanks.
And to you, our viewers, I hope you will stay tuned. When I come back, I will have another guest talking more about Georgia Highlands College, University of West Georgia. Stay tuned. Thank you very much.
In 1977 in Johannesburg, South Africa, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father. By the age of 9, he was already outplaying him. The odds of this gentle lad winning the Junior World Golf Championships at the age of 14, 1 in 16 million. The odds of that same boy then making it to the US and European Pro Golf Tours, 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the Open Championship once and the US Open Championship twice, 1 in 780 million. The odds of this professional golfer having a child diagnosed with autism, 1 in 150. Ernie Els encourages you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Hi, I'm James Grillo, and my city TV is streaming 24/7.
Welcome back to On the Agenda. In the first part of today's program, I concluded an interview with Dr. Randy Pierce, the president of Georgia Highlands College. And of course, we were talking about the coming to Douglasville, Douglas County, of a campus of Georgia Highlands College and the University of West Georgia. And that was this is actually the second part. The first part I talked with Ken Bernard, a local attorney who also is a member of the Board of Regents, which is the governing body of the University System of Georgia. And in our conversation, Regent Bernard mentioned that his interest in bringing to Douglasville, Douglas County, a unit of the University System of Georgia, went back several years when he had a conversation with Douglas County School Superintendent Don Rumillard. And so I thought it'd be great to have Superintendent Rumillard on here and get his perspective on what we've talking about concerning Georgia Highlands. So I made contact with Superintendent Rumillard. He graciously agreed to be on this program, and so today it's my pleasure to welcome to this program Douglas County School Superintendent Don Rumillard. Welcome.
Thank you, Bill. I'm glad to be here.
Well, you know, I'm interested in how this conversation between you and Mr. Bernard went, so let's just jump right in and give us your account of that.
Well, I'd be happy to. By chance, I had a meeting with the new president at Perimeter College, Dr. Tricoli, who had come in recently as president. And he was talking about wanting to expand his campuses and to have some satellites other than those that he had. And so I got home and got to thinking about it and called him the next day. Said, Dr. Tricoli, I think Douglas County would be an ideal place. We've got students from Douglas County who already go to Perimeter, and I think there's a huge need here, not only for students in Douglas County, but those in surrounding counties. Right. He agreed. And he said he'd get to work on it, but being new, he wasn't sure how to get the ball going. So I said, well, I've got some ideas. And so I called Kim Bernard on the Board of Regents and also called Bill Hembry, who chairs the Higher Ed Committee in the General Assembly. And both of them went to bat for us. A few days later, I got a call from Dr. Tricoli again, who said, unbeknownst to him, the Board of Regents was beginning to sort of set out some territories that colleges could move into. And so he said, let's just stop it right now, don't do anything. And I said, well, it's a little late for that. I've already called two pretty influential fellas. And so within days, I got a call from the Board of Regents, from the Assistant Chancellor, who asked me would we be interested in working with Highlands College, and I said, well, certainly we would. So he asked if he and Dr. Pierce from Highlands could come visit with me, and so that was the first meeting we had. I assured him there was a need in this community and that this community would work with them to get the school. So that's basically where it started.
Very good. Appreciate that insight. I know you've been with this school system for 38 years. If you look back 38 years ago and come forward to the present, what has changed that causes you, for example, to say, yes, we very much need a unit of the university system here, or did we need it here 38 years ago?
Well, I think the growth in this community warrants it. I think the changes in the world of work, where post-secondary education nowadays is absolutely critical. The Hope Scholarship did exactly what it was intended to do, and that was to keep the brightest and best in Georgia to go to college instead of leaving state. Because of that, our university system has been overwhelmed with students who can go to school for free. Students who once could get into the university at West Georgia are now no longer able to get into it. So the next best choice is the community college for them. So having a community college close by so that folks wouldn't have to commute an hour or an hour and a half is just the right thing to do. And then, of course, the economy in the last few years has been horrible. So even that drive to Carrollton to the University of West Georgia, although it's not that long, it adds up in expense, or to Georgia State. So I think there will be a lot of students in our community that opt to get their first couple of years of education right here in Douglasville.
Right. You know, I know that the city of Douglasville and the University System of Georgia, especially Georgia Highlands College, appreciates the way that you and your board stepped forward a few months ago when we were working on getting started with this, but there was no way we could meet the deadline this fall of actually having space available. And of course, the school system did come and made some arrangements. Tell us what you did and why you did it.
Well, basically, we had some empty mobile classrooms. We call them trailers on the site at Chapel Hill High School. We were very anxious to get Georgia Highlands out here, so we volunteered the use of that space. So they've got 2 double-wide classrooms, which gives them 4 classrooms plus an administrative trailer to work out of until they can get a more permanent location.
Right. Well, I know everybody appreciates that, and of course, that's where Georgia Highlands currently is housed and will be housed there as we move into 2010 until such time as the more permanent space is made available. But, you know, as I've been city manager now for more than 18 years, and of course we've worked closely with the Board of Education during that entire time. So this is not something new for the city and the school system to do, because we have a history of doing some things together.
Oh, we've done a number of things together, and in speaking for myself, but also for our board, we value our relationship with the city and appreciate the fact that we've got a great working relationship.
Right. Well, you know, a few years ago, I was asked to be one of the roasters on a charity event to roast you, and I tried to find some things that we could zing you a little bit on, and it was hard to do, and which is a compliment, I would say, to you. But we had a lot of fun that night,
we did.
And it was for a worthy cause. You know, I think I've mentioned to you before that I grew up in a household that was, my father used to say he was in the school business. He was a teacher, a coach, a principal, and finally a superintendent. And growing up in that environment, it's kind of difficult when your father is a principal. Nobody wants to come to your house to visit. But I vowed that I would never get involved in education. And a few years ago, actually accepted a position on a Ford Foundation funded project. I was an employee of the Atlanta school system working with Emory University and Atlanta University. And I think he had a good time with that because I had gotten involved in education in that way. But I do have certainly some appreciation and understanding of people who, including superintendents and all that they have to do. And you've been in the school system for 38 years.
That's correct.
But you've announced that you'll be retiring at the end of this school system. If you would, just give us a little rundown on those 38 years and anything else you want to say about it.
Well, of course, it's been a wonderful experience. I was recruited as a student at Berry College by the assistant superintendent from Douglas County, a gentleman named Floyd Hendricks. I had never been to Douglas County, but he offered me an interview, and I came and interviewed, and we were a one high school town back in those days, and I elected to come, and I spent 2 years teaching math at Douglas County High School. I was offered the position as coordinator of a program for at-risk high school kids who were potential dropouts. Some of them actually had dropped out. We talked them into coming back. And the purpose of the program was to tie in the relationship between the academic education and vocational education and prepare these young people for jobs. Some went on to graduate, and we're thankful for that. But others went out into the work world prior to graduation, but they were prepared for a job and they were contributing citizens to our community. So it was a really a lot of fun working with that program. I did that 4 years and was offered an assistant principalship at Douglas County High School. From there, I went to Lithia Springs High School and was assistant principal for vocational education. I spent about 15 years as a school level administrator. Our former superintendent, Catherine Sheehan, offered me a position at the county office as director of vocational education, and from there I served in several different capacities, working my way up to associate superintendent. And then when then Superintendent Randy Britton retired, the board offered me the position, and this is my 7th year as superintendent. It's been a wonderful, wonderful career here in Douglas County. I don't regret a day of it. I've had good days and bad days, as we all do, but the good days far outweigh the bad days. And basically, my whole adult life has been in the school business.
Right.
So I have mixed emotions about leaving, but it's time to go, and I think new leadership will be good for the school system.
Right. Well, I think you've done a great job, and we'll miss you. As we conclude, let's go back to Georgia Highlands. Any closing comments you want to make concerning Georgia Highlands College?
Well, we're thrilled to have them out here, and we're particularly thrilled that they've got a solid relationship with the University of West Georgia and the other university system schools. I think it's going to be a great asset to our community. I think it'll somewhat be an economic engine for our community as this school grows, as I know it will, and certainly it's going to be a great experience for our students. We've just opened the College and Career Institute at West Georgia Technical College to go along with their other programs. So now we have 2 programs, one more in the career and technical end, the other in the academic end. And you may or may not know, but Georgia has what they call a joint enrollment program. Our students can attend West Georgia Tech or Highlands College and get dual credit. In other words, for the same course, they'll get college credit and high school credit. And I think as the years go by, you'll see more and more of our high school juniors and seniors taking advantage of that.
Right. Been a pleasure to have you with us today.
Yes, sir.
And
Glad to do it.
we'll have you back before you retire so we can talk for a full half hour about things in the school system and your perspectives. But thank you for being here today, Superintendent Remillard, and to our viewers, thank you for being with us. Until next time, this is Bill Osmond signing off from On the Agenda.